Glacier Bay is its wildness at its prime.
It is a place of beauty, memory, and love. Spending time in Glacier Bay to me becomes very emotional the first time I arrive in Glacier Bay. Glacier Bay is an ancestral homeland to my people, and so when I enter Glacier Bay, it's like a blanket being put around me. It not only feeds your soul, but strengthens your heart.
What's often 60-65 miles down in the mouth of Glacier Bay is very different, as you could probably see around me now, from what is up here. Called Lamplugh the Blue because of its very vivid blue colors. It is a tidewater glacier, but only at high tide, which also is unique about this glacier here.
It's a place where you can go and not see even a kayak or another person for days. And you can be 65 miles from any sort of road. You can be in the middle of nowhere and feel at peace with everything.
The native people that originally came from Glacier Bay are the 4 clans that now live in the village of Hoonah. Of course, this was thousands of years ago. They lived in Glacier Bay year-round.
So the history of Glacier Bay begins long before any explorers came. The Hoonah Tlingit people, they say they lived in the shadow of a glacier. And when the glacier actually began to advance, they had to flee their homeland. It advanced so far, it came out into Icy Strait, and in about 1794, George Vancouver marked on the map where he saw that ice face. And where we are today, the glacier had actually receded up 65 miles. in only about over 200 years. So it's the fastest known retreat in the world of science anywhere in the world. So this is a really unique place to see glacial healing process of how everything comes back to life.
I remember the way it was when I was a child, and I remember the way it is today. And it's still good. It's still beautiful. The changes are part of nature, and we all adapt.
To define a glacier, first we have to go up to the zone of accumulation. That's where the snow is going to be falling in abundance year after year. That snow is accumulating. It's compressing all the air out of the snow, forming what we refer to as glacial ice. Then, because of the influence of gravity, that ice has to move downward. And in the process of moving downward, that's when it's going to carve out, create the scenery that we see. But then at the very end, you can call it the zone of wastage, or we can call it the area where we see the calving. That is where the glacier is either retreating or still slowly advancing, but it's that area where the glacier is actually going to be calving.
Marjorie Glacier is very unique in the sense that it's a healthy glacier. 95% of our glaciers in Alaska are unhealthy, so they're receding or they're melting, but the Marjorie Glacier is holding her own. She's one of the 5% of healthy glaciers. So we not only get to see her calve and break off that ice, but we get to be happy about that because she's able to reinitiate that ice when the snow keeps falling from the Fairweather Mountains, and that's her source. So she's definitely one of the highlights of Glacier Bay because not only is she an active glacier, moves about 6 feet forward through the mountains every day. We get to see enormous calving sometimes. We get to hear the calving. When that ice falls in the water, you get to see the gulls swoop in. There's a lot of energy, a lot of activity happening, even though it's something that's not even alive. And I just think that's a really spectacular thing to see something move like that. You never hear ice that big crack when you're at home. All you hear is your ice cubes in the ice cube tray. You never imagine that it can have such a reverberating sound. So I just remember standing in silence and just appreciating the fact that we can hear nature speaking.
Calving is more than a visual experience. Of course, we've all seen photographs and watched videos of ice falling into the water, but when folks get here and they hear the ice falling into the water, they're often surprised. The sound sometimes reverberates for miles, and many folks are even a little bit startled when they first hear it. It makes an incredible impact. The native peoples here, the Tlingit peoples who have lived here for many, many centuries, they had a term for calving. They called it white thunder.
There goes another one. Oh, that was a big piece. That was a big piece. Whoa.
Everything is intense in Glacier Bay. Everything is large. Everything is magnified. Many of the passengers will come up to me and say, "You must just feel like a small part of the world coming from this beautiful place." And my answer to them would be, "And how do you feel?"